And Justin, appreciate you making the time this morning too, by the way. And
Right.
welcome to another Account-Based Friday. We're heading into the holiday weekend here with another great guest, Justin Levy, who is the head of influencer marketing and community at Demandbase. And we're going to have a terrific conversation around community. Each week, as you know, we open with a poll. And this week's poll is related to Justin's background. We were just talking about the investments in community, and this is a couple months old, but probably still relevant in terms of, are people still making investments in community in 2023? And the question was, are you increasing, decreasing, staying the same? Meg, you're in the operating shoes. I can certainly see what my clients are doing, but I'm curious, how do you view community in your role?
Yeah, it's actually a big part of our kind of offering, if you will. Each of the practice areas that we have basically has what they call a research council or an executive council. And these are really active, vital groups of senior leaders from banking, insurance, risk, wealth management. All of them, really want to have safe forums to get together and talk about things that are meaningful to them. But given the, I'll call it the sort of security-minded nature of most of these companies, they don't have a lot of options for that. So it's something that IT Novarica has really invested in over the years as the kind of heritage brands, and something that we've absolutely continued and in fact expanded. So it's a big part of how people get to know us too. So if you think about it, one is a peer networking and regular sort of touch point. But the other is an entry point if you want to get to know our people and kind of learn about who they are, how they work, and so it's got kind of a double role that it plays for us, but it's just a foundational component. So yeah, I'm in the increasing camp. And Justin, we are delighted to have you here today. What do you think about this? You've got the bird's eye view of this whole area of marketing. Tell us kind of how you're thinking about investment there and what you see too, kind of in the market.
Yeah. So if you look if you zoom out a bit, community means so much to different brands and so much to different even departments, right? So you have customer communities, of which we have one, and we have someone that leads our customer community, and kind of similar to what you guys have, you might have a partner community in these different practice areas. Where I come in and what I lead is our private Slack-based community, and that's where you've really seen this sharp growth, especially over COVID as the pandemic lifted, because people needed somewhere to go hang out with people that kind of looked like them, right? Yeah. Similar roles and personas and what have you. So you've seen a couple different networks really flourish. Of course, Slack, because that's where so many of us business professionals spend the majority of our day. There's communities like Circle and Discord, and Mighty Networks is a third-party network that can be skinned to look like your brand colors or your community branding. So that's where I focus my attention. I do two parts primarily. One is I lead our community called Revenue Circle. And that's a Slack-based community. It's free for our members, and it's focused on executives at the VP level or above in sales or marketing roles. And so again, that's a certain persona. We want to bring them in. It's completely separate from the Demandbase brand. We don't go in there to try to sell our wares or to try to promote our new product offerings or features. It is a kind of safe space for those VPs and above to have conversations, and we have virtual events and in-person events and things of that nature for them. The second half of the job is being active in the communities that already exist, right? So I'm active and involved in probably close to 25 other communities. Those are a range of communities, whether one such as Rev Genius, Pavilion, which is one that most B2B professionals are aware of and know. There's one, MoPros, and that's focused on marketing ops professionals. But the reason why I'm active in there, besides some research of things I can change for Revenue Circle, is because we monitor conversations that are happening around our brand, competitors, or features and solutions that we offer. And we can then go back to our customers and activate them within those communities, because conversations are happening more so in these communities about your brand, your competitors, and your offerings than are happening these days on Google or through other places on the internet. So as a brand, you should have a presence.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, Justin, about those 25 other communities. I mean, great background, but to be able to be forward looking and see how your brand is being treated or talked about in those other communities, I think is pretty forward looking. I would guess that you're kind of pioneering this role. Like, if there probably wasn't a prior Justin or a prior Jason in the role, but if you've pioneered it, would there be any advice for companies that are setting this kind of role up, like what to do versus what not to do, as you're thinking about creating this role in a company?
Sure. There are multiple roles. There's other companies that are investing in head of community type roles to grow and manage their own third-party communities, right? So you have people like Katie Ray at Metadata who manages their demand community, and you have folks at HubSpot and multiple other communities and companies. But I haven't run into, and that doesn't mean that they don't exist, but I haven't run into someone that is purely focused on, or part of their job is focused on monitoring these other communities. I think that one of the things that you do have to look at is, how do you activate your customers? So we work very closely with our customer marketing team and provide them, we have our own format of how we notify them and then how they contact and work with our customers. But you have to have that monitoring process in place, because they are going to talk about your solutions or similar questions and your competitors, again, your brand. So to have that monitoring is crucial. And we realized in the beginning that, we were having to do, say, manual searches for some things. And then we started to understand that we could, do things like within Slack, they allow you to actually set up automatic notifications on search terms. So we started that, right? That made, across 25 communities, that made our lives infinitely easier for myself and one of my team members that helps with it. Some of these other third-party communities that are browser-based or what have you, you have to manually search it. There's just no way around it. But you have to think through, what are all of the various ways that someone may search, mention, or want information about your brand. So for example, someone might misspell Demandbase, with a space or without a space is the true way to spell it. But they may ask about certifications in B2B, or ABM certifications, or account-based marketing, or ABX, or account-based experience, right? So you have to monitor for all that. Those certifications, I actually have, an ability to offer a code. So it's bringing more value to that community. People might ask about competitors, or people that aren't a competitor yet. They may not be our top couple competitors, but they're a smaller brand that are offering a similar solution. So all of a sudden you see that company come up 5, 6, 7 times. You have to start to search for them as well, because as we all know, a small competitor can become a major influence pretty quickly.
Yeah, Justin, this is really interesting that the participation in not just your own community, but other communities is in fact your role, like a big part of your role. I think a lot of people assume that that gets done just off to the side of somebody's desk as part of their own kind of personal networking or engagement in communities to stay, current and continue to learn and engage with their peers. But I don't see a lot of companies thinking of it the way that you are, as a critical channel to participate in. It's essentially first party data that you would want to get. Like, it's to know what's happening out there, how you're being positioned. It's brand monitoring. But it's something that you can't really do if you don't show up. And you don't have a consistent presence. So I think that having it be an actual role is really interesting, especially for offerings that do end up, needing that kind of community insight. I'm curious to know, how has your role evolved? Kind of how did you end up in, doing the work that you're doing now? It'd be great to hear.
Yeah, so when I was brought on, it was originally for social and influencer marketing. I've spent my career in social media leading it for global brands, global Fortune 500s. And so when I was brought in, I was recruited for social and influencer. Over time, we were able to build out a social team. So I was able to focus solely on influencer marketing. Then this whole concept in ask by the company around community kind of really started to formulate and take hold. And so when we started to look at what I do by day with influencer marketing, and then how could we have not only our own community, because I think there's a lot built in there. At first, it was probably 10% of my day. Now it's probably 40 to 50+% of my day, but also this activity in other communities, right? Obviously, the more involved you are, the more you find, the more you try to activate internal folks, right? Because it's a great personal branding opportunity for them. So being able to provide the communities that they can be active in, like I mentioned, the customer activity, the monitoring, then activating them, and then just being helpful where you can be helpful, right? Like I said, no one cares to have me pitch within communities, but from a B2B perspective, a B2B company, I've taken many calls and helped people out with influencer marketing questions, community questions, provided access to our certifications or things like that. So it's also being helpful and providing value where I can and others can as well. Again, MoPros is a great example. Mike Rizzo leads that community. And so there's naturally a lot of conversation around tech stack. Well, certainly demand-based queries or questions, that's one thing, but we have a phenomenal marketing ops team. That's a perfect personal branding opportunity for them because it's what they've spent their career doing, right? So that just started to all three roles essentially, because community takes on a couple different versions, right? Our private community and then external communities, and obviously the influencer marketing focus has continually evolved as we've matured both programs over the past 2 years.
Yeah, and I had put up an earlier comment about a lady, Ashley Zeckman of Onalytica, who had called you out. So in a way, called you out in a positive way of kind of being forward thinking in your community approach. And obviously Meg and I are kind of latching onto this too. Like, wow, that's really forward thinking. It all kind of ties though, like you're carving out a personal brand here as a thought leader in the community side. What other things have you seen on the personal branding as it relates to community, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I think that, and Ashley's a good friend, so I appreciated, her saying that. She let me know ahead of time that she was. But I think with any of our areas of expertise. It's not just an influencer and community, where I'm focused. I think it's in any area where you have a developed expertise in marketing or sales, or, at an executive level. There's the opportunity to build a personal brand because you do something by day that maybe not a lot of people think about or break down. So if you think about with our private community, with Revenue Circle, there are decisions that we have made and that I make on a daily basis with the focus of bringing value to our 700 plus community members. There are reasons why we do things that we do and do them differently than I've seen in other communities. So to be able to break that down and explain that, say on LinkedIn or when I give presentations at conferences, that's all in driving value for my community, for the Revenue Circle community, to position Demandbase as a thought leader in this area, and then to bring value to my personal community, right? To try to help lift others up and give them the information needed to go out and be successful with their company, their private communities, whatever they want to do.
Well, and I think that idea of brands thinking about how to engage at a personal level and is really important because it sort of humanizes the company. And I think it makes it seem more personal. Like I'm probably not articulating that very well, but I'm just thinking about the fact that you can't, send demand creation type messaging to a community and have it be successful. You really just have to be part of it and contribute to it. And to your point, show up with something to give and knowledge to share, and open to learning. Otherwise, you're not going to be welcome in that community. And I really like the fact that you've thought through, how can I be a meaningful personal contributor while still creating a positive environment for your brand. I think that to me is the part that's super forward looking. Like there's no substitute for personal engagement. How do you do that in a way that's credible and valuable to the other members of that community? And in so doing, you accomplish a lot of really good business goals. But speaking of which, can you share a little bit about how you measure the impact of your work, your influencer marketing, your community participation? Are there some particular things you pay attention to?
Yeah. So on the influencer marketing side, with our campaigns, certainly we pay attention to the brand awareness metrics, right? So things such as reach, engagement, traffic back to the website, and then further down the funnel. And these are metrics that are a little harder to measure, take sometimes a few months because of a longer buying cycle. We'll look at influence on pipeline. When you look at least for us, when we've done some of our campaigns, we'll notice that those campaigns actually perform at a level that they will be the number one or number two most visited traffic driver to our website besides the homepage for 1 to 2 weeks after launch. So that's major for the campaign, in addition to potentially the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of engagements and impressions that will drive, and usually for for a fairly low cost. If you're doing a paid campaign, certainly you want to pay attention. If you're leading the campaign, you want to pay attention to a metric that I value called CPE, and that's cost per engagement. And the reason why I care a lot about that is that influencer pricing in a paid campaign is all over the place right now, right? There's no standard that says, okay, Justin, Meg, and John, because there's this influencer database or what have you, we all charge $1,000 to, film a video or what have you. No, it's whatever you decide you're going to charge and whatever your market value is with your community and with the brands you work with. So CPE essentially normalizes it, at least in my opinion, because take the cost. It could be $5,000 and you drive 5 engagements. Well, that's one number. Or you charge $5, which no one would, but you charge $5 and you get 5,000 engagements. Like, those numbers help normalize that cost for the next campaign you're going to run to help make decisions about who you may or may not work with. So that's kind of the influencer marketing side. The community side, within our private community, I look at total engagements, on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly pace. I certainly look at engagement rate, active community members as all out of the total number, because as with any community, social, private, even a community, public, in real life kind of community of friends and what have you, right? Certain number of them are active, a certain number of them aren't active. So we will measure all of that, and as well as attendance to virtual events and things of that nature. And not only are the numbers important to me, but it helps to shine the light on, are we bringing value? Because that is, like I said, my number one goal. So if I think it's cool to do virtual events and no one signs up and no one attends, then I won't hold virtual events, because obviously they're not of value. If I think, and this is something that happened, if I think that more serious questions of the day, we run a question of the day, pretty standard across communities, a more serious question will drive engagement, because it's a mindset that we all are in by day, right? If you're a VP or above, you're thinking about certain budget, org design, planning, strategies, whatever. This was something I saw across virtually all the communities that I'm a part of. They'd ask a question of the day about something related to that community, right? If it's analytics, we're going to talk about GA4. We're going to talk about AI, talk the impact on traffic to your website, things of that nature. We got little to no engagement. And so, to looking at those numbers and thinking of how we could bring value to the community, one day I was in a different conversation that went down a rabbit hole. So I decided to post it in there. And the question was, does pineapple belong on pizza? And it ran wild. I mean, easily 10x, if not more, the number of engagements. I said, okay, obviously this community of VPs and above want more lighthearted content, at least with that, these daily questions want more lighthearted content, because they are dealing with budget and planning and strategy and all this stuff during the day, that when they come here, if we pull them in with the lighthearted stuff, they're going to stay for actually the conversations that happen between members on all those topics. And that's what's has happened. Today, it's about what are you going to grill over Memorial Day weekend and what your favorite side dish is. This week, I don't even know. We've done favorite toppings on burgers. We've done team cat or team dog. We've done favorite type of coffee. You name it. And most of them surround food. Sometimes we'll move into that. I'll think of it of gray area, right? Of 4-day work weeks and return to office and things that actually do impact people's lives. And from a executive position, actually, they may have influence over. Mm-hmm. But those are still relevant topics that a lot of people just have a opinion on. So we'll talk about those. But if we weren't looking at those key metrics, we would have just kept pushing on what we thought was correct, not what the community was telling us they wanted.
Yeah, and I'm just out of curiosity, where do you stand on the pineapple on pizza question?
It belongs.
Me too, man. I love a good Hawaiian pizza.
Exactly. And it turns into an extremely heated debate. I ask it probably once every 2 to 3 months because we'll get an influx of 50 more, community members. It's a debate. It goes down a really bad rabbit hole.
I don't know. I'm always interested to see where people stand on that. And I know we're coming up on time. We'll mention this is our first all UConn alum call. All of us graduated, either John and I undergraduate or Justin graduate school
Yep.
at UConn. So Justin, I have to ask, favorite thing about the UConn campus when you were there?
Well, see, I did mine mostly hybrid because of the nature of my degree. But for anyone that is from Connecticut or knows anything about Connecticut, the Huskies are, especially the women basketball team, are essentially the professional team for Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yes, we had the Hartford Wolfpack, and of course we have the WNBA, but for the most part, UConn basketball is our professional team. So it's always fun to root for them and watch them. We're not all as lucky as John is to, get to hang out with them at 4 a.m. after they've won their championship and stuff like that. But it's fun to watch them on TV.
It's my one vice in life other than drinking and gambling. So it's fantastic. I totally agree with you. And I've been to women's Final Four. So I think I've been
A
to
lot
six.
of them, right?
Yeah. I've been to 6 total, 4 men, 2 women. So yeah, I got to catch up on the women's side, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. Well, Justin, really grateful that you invested some time here with us, and I learned a ton. I may, if I can't figure out how to do those Slack alerts, I may be coming back to you. But beyond that, just the measurement and the forward looking of monitoring other communities, I'd be surprised if anybody's thinking that way. So you're ahead of the pack there. I think that's a great call out. I guess we've got 2 great guests following Justin. It's going to be a tough act to follow, but we've got David Quaid in 2 weeks. He's an SEO, SEM expert. And then following David, we've got May Habib, who's the CEO of a company called Writer.ai. They're doing a lot of content creation, leveraging AI. Should be a really interesting dialogue. So Meg, any closing thoughts?
Just thank you very much, Justin. I learned a ton today too. I've got some good ideas to bring back to my team. And just wishing everybody a lovely weekend and a happy Friday.
Absolutely. Thank you.